Hi everyone, welcome back to 20-Minute Marketing. Today we have a very exciting guest. She is the first international guest on the podcast, so she's speaking to us from overseas, which is really exciting. Just firstly, obviously going to thank her for her time. And I'm really excited to get started, so I'm going to let her introduce herself to you all.
Hi, Liam. Thanks for inviting me and for the opportunity to talk about the importance of being customer-centric. My name is Claudia Schalkx, and I have over 25 years of international experience in marketing and communication. I've worked for Fortune 500 companies to small boutiques and in a variety of industries and countries. And with my present adventure, Bridge2More, which I founded in 2011, I help small business owners to get better results with the marketing they already have in place so that they can see the effects within 90 days.
And one of the things you talk about, and one of the things you do is all about learning your customer. And we're really going to dive into that in the main context of the episode. So I think, let's get started. Thanks for introducing yourself, and we will be talking about some of your best tips and practices just in a moment.
I'm looking forward.
So let's dive into the main part of the podcast, which is all about your role, your ideas, and marketing in 2019. One of the key things that I was brought to my attention, both in your introduction and from myself following your company, is that you mention about you help companies with their marketing in a 90-day period. How do you get everything covered so quickly? How is that achievable?
Well, the first thing that I do is that I focus on what's going well. And you see then we ask ourselves, how can we strengthen that? When you map it out, then you see the gaps. And in my experience, usually the problem at the core is that entrepreneurs didn't devote enough time to get to know their customer or to understand their customer inside out. So it's not only the demographics and the psychographics, but also their dreams, their aspirations, how their life or their work is affected by not solving the problem. How do they describe the problem, and how do they envision the solution? So when you devote enough time, and it's a tedious job, I must admit, but when you devote the time to do this, you get a real good picture, an intimate picture of your customer. And that is at the base of your marketing, because once you have a clear picture of your customer, you can better design your services. Your signature product or service should be created around your customer. Your message is also in function of your customer, and all your communication pieces should be in function of your customer. So getting to know your customer really facilitates the marketing that follows. Where are you going to publish? What are you going to talk about? Which topics will you bring forward? And usually getting to know your customer also answers the question, why am I getting the wrong customers? How can I have a conversation with my customers that is focused on value and not on money, etc., etc. So it really is at the core of your marketing. And it's not only small business owners who skip this step. It's also large corporations who assume that they know their customer. And you, in marketing, you shouldn't operate on assumptions. So you really need to devote time to get to know your customer. And since we are in the age of internet, all this information is available. So you can either go to your clients or find it out on the internet.
Absolutely, and I think we're in an era now where companies are able to find out what platforms their customers are using, where they're looking, where they're searching. Whereas 10, 20 years ago, you only really had your billboards, your direct mail, and those sort of alternatives. But now there's really no excuse for any company really to not be able to target their customers in a way that is going to be most effective.
Yes, definitely internet has really changed the way we market our business. And for starting companies, small and business owners, and also large brands, the internet brings you an array of possibilities. But you have to be wise in how you're going to use your resources, and you can't shoot in all directions, because that would be a very bad use of your resources, your time, and definitely you will not get results. So connecting back to the customer, when you see and you know where your customer is, where can you find your customer and how to reach them, you can also define the platform that works best for you and for your customer. That being said, it's very important that you just use social media as an amplifier of your message, and that in your strategy, you look for ways to generate traffic to your website, because these platforms can be here today and gone tomorrow, or they can change the rules and the terms and conditions, and you will have no platform, no public, no audience. So whatever you do, make sure you have a good balance in your marketing combination. And that's another very important thing, is that you need to connect the dots in your marketing. And that's also my approach. Every piece of marketing you have is connected with each other. So your customer is connected to your message, is connected to your business goals, is connected to your products and services. Your message is connected to your customer, is connected to the platforms you're going to use, is connected to what are you going to do to be found. And this can be as simple as keywords, as search engine optimization, but also where are you going to deliver your message. So every piece of marketing interacts with each other. And as soon as one is out of place, your whole marketing will start to underperform. So it's very important that you see marketing as those, as a line where you have to connect the dots.
And I think one of the key words that you said there that stood out for me is balance, in a sense that you don't have to be on every platform all the time, 9 to 5, 24 hours a day or whatever, but you do need to find enough spread where you're able to reach your customers across different ways and different means, but without doing too much and ending up spreading yourself too thinly on each
Yes,
one.
I fully agree with you. And in addition to that balance, or another element you should bring into the equation of that balance, is what is your marketing communication style? Because if you're not a writer and you don't like to blog, basing your marketing into blog writing is already be doomed from the very beginning. So if you are more like an extrovert, you will have different marketing strategies and tactics that will work for you, like videos, like podcasts, etc., etc. But if you're more an introvert or a person-to-person entrepreneur, you will need to find marketing strategies that work for you and that make your marketing sustainable, because marketing is a long game. You need to have patience to plant the seed and to harvest. There are no quick solutions in marketing, and there are no one-size-fits-all ideas in marketing. You need to find the balance between who you are as an entrepreneur or as a brand and the people you're trying to reach to solve their problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I think people need to, I think it is obviously common knowledge for people in the industry, but it does take time and it can be a slow burner. And things like moving up organic rankings and all those factors in terms of SEO, they all take
They
time as
definitely
well.
take time. And in
Yeah.
SEO, it's not only finding the right keywords, but it's also the search intent, which is where in your customer journey is your customer. Are they ready to make a decision, and are they just informing themselves? Are they comparing? So all this information we've been talking comes up when you do a very careful and thorough study of your customer. So then again, it's boring work. I have to admit, I have to drag my clients when we do understanding your customer. But in the end, it's a mine and a treasure trove of data that you can use to create your messages, to design your services for every marketing and business decision you're going to do.
Yeah, once you have that initial data, then it makes life so much easier for the rest of your
Yeah,
existence
and you
almost.
wouldn't believe, Liam, it's incredible how large companies also forget to do this work. Really, it's I can give you so many examples.
Let's hear them if you don't mind. Maybe a good one
Well,
and a
I'm
bad
going to
one,
give, now that you
or
mention it,
anything you
I
have.
am going to give you one that started very badly and then they corrected along the way. And it's very recent. On March 3rd, a tornado devastated Lee County in Alabama in the US. And meteorologists had warned of severe weather days in advance, and forecasters monitored the area very closely, sending warnings as soon as individual tornadoes were detected. Even so, over 20 people died. Lee County has a high number of mobile homes, and these homes are less able to withstand high winds. And research showed that mobile home residents would follow the general guidance for taking shelter in a tornado, which is to get to an interior room in the lowest floor or in the basement of your house. And the problem is the recommendation for what to do in a mobile home is different. It's to get out and go to an underground shelter. So these folks need to be alerted differently and a much earlier stage in order to give them the time to go and seek protection. So as you see, the answer to this problem, which is how can we be so good in forecasting weather and still having a death toll, is in understanding not only the storms, but also how the people and the impact of income, class, ethnicity, culture, and most of all, how differently we react to hazards. So in the case of Lee County, they need alerts that not only describe the weather, but also take into account human demographics and psychology and provide the right message to the right people. And you can only do that when you take the time to understand your customer.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't just assume that customers are going to react a certain way or do a certain thing.
So this is a very interesting example. You know, the weather. I can't come with a name, but it's the weather organization in the U.S. It's a large organization. They have budget and everything, and still they miss the mark.
Yeah, and it just shows that companies, even on the highest and largest scale, can still ultimately miss what their customers want or who
And
they
it's
are.
because the customer is at the very base of your marketing. So it doesn't matter how large or small company you are, the basics are the same. It's the customer, it's the message, and it's your offer.
Just want to sort of touch and elaborate on what you said about connecting the dots and how you structure it. So if, for example, a company sits down with you and they want to learn who their customers are, how do you sort of approach the different steps, or what would you do to find out who they really are?
What I do is that I hear what they say the problem is. So, for instance, they can say, my clients have different expectations, or I'm not happy with the projects I have, or my customers are price sensitive, or I have low engagement rate. So depending on how companies or my clients describe their problem, I know where to look first. And usually it's a problem that you can bring back to customer. So what I do is, if they have clients already, I help them to survey their clients with very concrete questions. And then we tabulate your questions. But what happens when you don't have clients? Where do you go to find that information? You know?
That was going to be my question. What if somebody has a very small amount of clients, or they're just starting up and they're not really sure?
Yes, or you can have
how to find
clients
out
but
any
not the
data.
right clients, or you can have clients and
or the
or
wrong
you can have clients and thinking of moving to a different kind of service. So the clients you have now won't help you to do your preparation work. So what I recommend here is that you use social media. You use social listening, which is what people in different groups, communities, or forums are saying, and read the words they use to define their problem. And also pay attention to what they are not saying. Check on Amazon and check for books or titles in the area you're trying to work, and see what is people writing in the reviews. I was looking for a solution to this, and I found that this book illustrated this and this point. So that's also a way for you to fish out information from the internet. You can also go to Google Trends. You can also use Quora, which is an underused platform that helps you to your organic grow, but also helps you to know what does your customers expect from your company.
Yeah, I think Quora is a platform that hasn't even been mentioned or touched on yet. I'm not sure if everyone sees how much value it can offer, but sometimes you find yourself lost on there, just like looking at questions and finding out all different types of information that you never really knew that you needed.
Yes, and the other thing is you have to put limits at how you're going to work to find this information, because you can fall into a rabbit hole of searching, and one search takes you to another, and you end up with a pile of information. You don't know what to do with it. So as you start your research, you need to categorize what you're finding. For instance, where I looked for this information, what is the topic, what is people complaining about, and what is people looking for. And you put it in 3 columns. And as you start your research, you immediately start to categorize your information, and put a limit. Say, like,
Absolutely,
I'm
yeah.
going to check 5 books, or I'm going to check 5 topics within Quora, or I'm going to check 3 communities. And if you go to communities, make sure that you have communities with a significant amount of members, but also with significant activity. Because then
Absolutely,
again,
yeah.
you can have few members, but if the members are engaged, that's of course much more valuable than having a large number of members that are not engaged.
Correct, yeah. I think just in terms of keeping it into the 20-minute structure, bit of a summary on the main topics is find out who your customers are, even if it takes a little bit or a long time to research it, and the long-term benefits will be huge for your company going forward. I don't know if there's anything to summarize that you want to add for this section.
And try to validate your questionnaires with surveys. Even if you don't have clients, you can put a survey out to the public and collect your information there. So whatever you find there, try to validate it. And then again, we live in a digital world. If what you're writing doesn't work, you can change it quickly.
Correct, yeah. So yeah, we're just going to move on to topic 3, which is a little bit of graduate advice. I found that it can help both graduates and students, and also people who are employing those. There's hopefully some insights to be learned. So we'll move on to that in just a couple of moments. And finally, just to wrap it up, as usual, I'm going to be asking for a little bit of graduate advice. As mentioned, it can help graduates and current students, but also sometimes employers who don't really know what they should be looking for. So first of all, my first question is specifically related towards graduates, and that's, what do you think that they could do to try and stand out besides just getting their degree or master's or qualifications?
Well, what I think that graduates should do to stand out is really study the market they want to join, which companies they want to join, and do their homework before they contact these companies and see how their skills and their knowledge can be of service to this company. So going back to the very topic of this conversation, to do their customer understanding job, and see how, and be not discouraged by rejection or the lack of experience, because so many times you have people who has wonderful qualifications and grades, and then they go out to the real life and they don't know how to make use of what they have. So I think it's knowing how to use what you know.
I think like myself is even a good example for that. I finished my master's degree January 2018, but finished studying September 2017, so around about almost 18 months ago now. And I only got my first major marketing job 4 months ago, so it took me over a year to get to where my needed to be in terms of entering the marketing world. So it's not necessarily just going to happen overnight,
No,
unfortunately.
and I think another decision that you maybe can't do at an early stage, but you should keep your radar alert on it, is if you want to become a generalist or a specialist. And in this age where we are, Liam, that technology is spanning out new things practically every day and lots of shiny objects, it is very time consuming to remain up to speed on developments. So if you decide, like me, to remain a generalist, you need to know that you will devote a quite amount of time to keep track of the developments. And if you decide to become a specialist, do so, but always remember that everything is connected and your specialization is not isolated. So it will be affected or improved by the other things that are happening around this specialization. So nothing is isolated.
Yeah, I think that is a great point to consider for everyone in all industries and job titles. And then just going to wrap it up with one final question. So if you were hiring a graduate or someone with not necessarily a great deal of experience, what would you look for besides technical knowledge or, again, qualifications?
What I would look is for somebody who's open to learn and that has common sense, but above all, the ability to solve problems. You know, what happens on a day that you don't have a computer or the internet is not working? What else can you do with things that are not technology? Because the problems pop up every day in every sphere. So you need to be multi-talented. It's not only limiting your knowledge to technology, but using that knowledge. It's how are you going to use that knowledge?
Yeah. So yeah, unfortunately, we have just about run out of time. I think we are a minute or two over the 20 minutes, but it was 2 minutes extra of learning. So thanks for being a great guest, and I hope people really enjoy this episode because I know I'm going to take a lot out of it.
Thank you so very much for inviting me, Liam, and I look forward to more podcasts with other guests as well.